Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
I am Justin Akadone. Million naira on food. That is more than twice that was allocated for food last year or this year and the previous years. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation reached its highest level in 12 years in March. While the rise has slowed in the last 6 months, food inflation remains significantly high at 16.63% and 19.57% respectively in September. For 2022, the President's office will spend 301 million naira on foodstuff and catering material supplies, while the Vice President's bill was put at 156 million naira. Now, joining us to discuss this is Tunji Abdul Hamid, a legal practitioner, and Gbolahan Olojede, an economist. Many thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Good evening, Barrister. Thanks for joining us on the show this evening. Of course, to you, Gbolahan, joining us via Zoom.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Nice to be with you.
All right, let me start with you, Barrister Abdul Hamid. You have heard the breakdown of what we Nigerians are supposed to be paying for the President and the Vice President's bill, food for bill next year. It is as high as the President spending 301 million on food.
That our system is such that only gives opportunity to those in government. You know, those in government are supposed to be the servant of the people, but in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. Those in government are now the one who is to be served by the people. You see, and it's unfortunate that, look, the government will continue to say the masses should tighten their belt because of the scarcity of this and that. The same government is not tightening its belt. They are increasing or doubling their expenses, and they're complaining about a lack of a fund. You know, and that's why I always agree with people that say Nigeria is not a rich country or whatever. We don't manage what we lack is a management of our resources. It's unfortunate that such amount of money is being earmarked for the president. I imagine what they'll be eating particularly at that age of our president, and probably maybe that expenses covers the extended family as well. Those who are not even living the which is going to be unfortunate. You see, on a serious note, it's not palatable to hear that such amount of money is being budgeted for the presidency in terms of food.
All right, let's go to Gbolahan. You are an economist. With the rise in prices of foodstuff every day in the market, what hits you really when we talk about spending as much as 301 million on foodstuff and catering, judging by the fact that the average Nigerian barely lives below $1, per day?
If food cost has increased for the average Nigerian, it is expected that it will also have increased even for the president and the vice president as well, because the market is the same. whether the local market or for the imported goods, all prices went up, and it also have gone up for the president and the vice president as well. However, under our peculiar circumstances, I think what might be ideal is for us to revisit those budget numbers and do what you call a zero-based budget for those items. Zero-based means you're not just saying, oh, because food items have increased, therefore let me just increase the amount we spent last year. Rather, what you do is that you actually build that cost from the zero base, from the scratch, and say, okay, on the average, this is the number of people that the president or the vice president hosts in a day. These are the number of international visitors that come in a year. And then what does it take to feed all these people? You can be sure that these old men themselves, the president is about 78, Mr. Shibajo is in 60s as well. How much food can they eat as an individual? So you can be sure that this is not about their tummy. But all the same, we now need to be sure that there are no wastage. Because one of the problems we have in this country, there is a lot of wastage is still inside our numbers. We don't have that much money to spend. The little we have us all sorts of wastage. So let's go zero-based budgeting on those budgetary items. Build it up from scratch and arrive at something that makes sense, rather than just put a percentage in on what you spend the last time.
Bola, I still want us to talk more concerning on what ideology or what basis that particular amount was put forth. You have said about prices of food generally in Nigeria has actually doubled, and maybe that might be one of the reasons why that of the president and the vice presidents, have also been, doubled. But then again, the average Nigerians, their salaries have not actually increased over time. They are still groaning under the biting effect of inflation. Don't you think that we should not be talking about doubling the budget for their food items? Rather, we should look inwards and tackle how we can actually ensure that we have, adequate food for residents and, of course, Nigerians generally?
Some audio problems right there. I did not hear some of what you said, so I'm actually unable to...
Okay, let me repeat what I said. A school of thought believes that the president's and the vice president's budget for feeding doubled because of the rising costs of food items in the country. But another school...
The audio problem has persisted. I still cannot hear you.
I will try and reconnect with you at Bolohan, and I'll try and raise that question again. But let me speak to Tunji Abdul Hamid, and let us try and get more reactions concerning all of these issues right now. At a time when everyone for the president and 20 million slated for the vice president, shouldn't we really be looking at reducing the cost of governance right now instead of looking at how we can double these bills for the presidency just for feeding?
We should be looking at reducing the cost of governance, because the government have already been saying that, look, we don't have money, and they will also be appealing to people to cut to reduce their expenses, but they are not reducing their own expenses, and that's why people are worried that, look, when you say I should do this, you are not doing the same thing. When you are complaining about lack of finance, you are doubling your own expenses, and then to me, I don't even think we should be feeding the president and the vice president or any government officer.
So who should be?
Because they are responsible. They are collecting salary. They are not doing a free job. The allowance may be too low or whatever. They sign for it.
So invariably, they should be
they collect allowance
from their own salaries or their own emoluments,
so they should feel what other people are feeling. If you are the president or you are the whatever, and they say there is an increment in cost of food, you now double your budget for that purpose. Would the salary of the other workers be double because there's an increment in there?
Is that international best practice?
I think I'm aware that Obama, there was a time that he said he was paying for his own things that outside whenever he wants to do things that are not within the confine of his personal thing, like even feeding that he pays from his pocket. And if he's paying a member of his family, maybe he wants to give anybody any money or whatever, it will come from his pocket, not government cover. But that's not what we see in Nigeria. In Nigeria, anything, once you are the president or governor or you are in authority, all your expenses should be government money. So I think we're not helping ourselves, especially the government that is preaching we should maintain the decorum in terms of spending and whatever, and it's not giving. You know, if you look at consistently the last 4 years or so, it has been 100 something million or thereabout, or 300 for the president, the food alone, combined with the president, almost 300 million naira for two of them every year. And that has been this. What are they eating? What is the level? I'm not surprised anyway, because we have been told every year that the cutlery being used at the Aso Rock cost 100 million naira every year. So I don't know what to do with the cutleries after.
Are they bought locally or they actually imported?
I don't know how it comes, but in the budget,
yeah.
they always are marked 100 million naira as cutlery budget for
fresh every year.
I don't know what to do with the one they used last year. Maybe they throw it away every year or every time. So I think it's not a good example from the president, because if everybody want to agitate and say, look, there's an increment in the cost of food, then therefore we need to increase our salary. That will be chaos.
All right, let's try and reconnect with Bolaha Olojede on this particular discourse now. Before we had that disconnect, we're talking about the rising cost of food items in Nigeria. And a school of thought is saying that this particular amount that we have right now for the president and the vice president may have been predicated on the fact that food prices have doubled. But indeed, Nigerians have not actually gotten increases in their salaries over time. But then again, what would you recommend? Because one would have thought that.
I perfectly agree with you. That is the direction we need to go. Food security is very important, and this year has been particularly challenging, I believe. But without fixing the security problem, we will still be curtailed as to how much we can actually produce. Because as the farmers, even when they are collecting money, cannot go into those funds to produce, and there is a problem. So that is why it becomes very important for us to solve that insecurity problem, so that there will be more food on the table for the Nigerians. I heard the guests in the studio say something about the fact that Obama pays for his food. That is the truth. He pays for his own food. But you see, when you look at the budget that is called food that the president it is not about what the president needs. If it is broken down, we will see, for example, the Turkish president was just around. There are presidential visits, there are all sorts of visitors all through the year. So even when we decide to split the one for the president's food away from the rest will still be very significant to constitute maybe up to like 90 or 80% of that figure. So the best thing is actually to go back to that figure and, take it line item for item and build it from scratch. By the time you do a zero-based budget or arrive at the figure, you might end up arriving at half of that amount.
All right, Bolaha, let's stay on the rising cost of food items for one bit. And the president's broadcast on October 1st, that's on Independence Day, he actually attributed the rise to the issues of middlemen and all of that. But would you really agree that we have a problem? We are where we are at right now because of maybe some, unscrupulous activities of the middlemen, according to the president, as he said on Independence Day?
The middlemen problems, but I don't want to be, because middlemen have always been there. They've always been there, and the prices of food have not been this high. So the subject matter of middlemen is not new in that market dynamic. We can therefore not blame the food prices on middlemen. So
all right.
I would still think that insecurity is a major problem. That is not food items. So even move them to where they are consumed sometimes is a problem because of the road infrastructure that we have. So all these issues must be carefully put together to solve our problem. I don't want to go to the state of the weak research and science and technology base in the agricultural space in Nigeria. But the problems are there, but blaming it on middlemen,
all right, thank you, Bolaha. Barrister Tunji, let's still talk about a point that you raised earlier on. You talked about the president or the presidency, that's the president and of course the vice president, paying for their own meals. Still taking it one step further, don't you think that it goes beyond just paying, for what they get to eat on a daily basis? Looking at how much we budget, daily, for, those who are the hems of affairs, it actually takes so much, and of course it's the average Nigerian, who actually pays for all of this through taxes and of course other, income that the federal government, makes in the fiscal year. Just what would you recommend, just aside from, the expenses on food, what aspects should we also be looking at, in terms of, they paying their own bills and of course, invariably gets into the fact that the cost of governance is actually reduced in this country?
The truth is that we are wasteful in this country in terms of maintaining the political class. Political class are the one benefiting so much from our resources. They give themselves a huge amount of money to look at the National Assembly, look at the people have always been focusing on the National Assembly. As far as I'm concerned, National Assembly is not taking, because people complain that National Assembly is the one that is taking huge stock of our money. No, I disagree. The entire budget of National Assembly is about 120 billion or so, out of trillions, 16 or so trillion. So how could they be the one? But generally, whether the National Assembly, the presidency, the ministers, all executive positions, when you talk about reducing costs, that's where we should start from. We need to reduce all their expenses. The president, whenever he goes out from Abuja inside his Aso Rock to even Matama or whatever, there's an allowance for inconvenience or that, and to enjoy themselves. So that's why they give themselves huge amount of money. And unfortunately, we don't ask questions, and we don't even do anything. We want him to live like you, because he's not, that kind of attitude will not change anything. So we need to also all of us need to put our hands on deck. We need to put the pressure on them, ask them questions. I expect Labour to also say, look, there's a food inflation in the country, and we need to increase our salary. When it's raised that one, the government will tell you there's no money. There's no money, but they have a way of getting money to maintain their own life. So it's not fair. We are not running a government for the few people, those in government and for those in government. And that's not democracy. Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But what we have now is government of the few, by the few, and for the few, which is not proper. We are maintaining them with our money, and that's all. And that's why we're not having enough to maintain our life. And I will also say that I disagree with people that will tell me Nigeria is not a rich country or whatever. We are, to an extent.
Process in Nigeria, visa, of course, goods and all of that. In my opinion, I feel that for the budget to have increased from this amount, from what it was last year, the bulk of the expenditure on feeding, I would say, actually imported into the country. So what should we be doing vis-a-vis ensuring that we can look at getting this food out?
Okay. Most likely, someone like the president or the vice president has an indicate to also offer to some of our dignitaries. To say, look, this is the Nigerian jollof rice, or this is the Nigerian pounded yam, and all that stuff. At least introduce them to it. I'm not saying that this will have a magical success. If you're going to host, for example, the president of Turkey, if you offer him pounded yam, he may not be able to swallow it. You still have a matter of let's consume what we produce. The funny thing is that even when consuming what we produce, prices of what we produce has gone up. It has gone up. So it has gone up on one side, and the cost of what we also produce locally has gone up as well. So either way you look at it, there have been price increases to make sacrifice. People also want to see what sacrifice have you made, and that is an important part.
All right, Boho, let me just stay with you for 1 minute. Now, still we are talking about reducing the cost of governance. You know that the 2022 budget is actually predicated hugely on external borrowing. What direction would you point the government in terms of how it should go about its budget?
Well, if I'm to advise the government, there are several things that can be done. Handing over projects to the private sector to run. So they will bring private capital, they will also bring private money, and we won't have to go and borrow to do this. Also, government has a lot of GOEs, the government enterprises that are just draining. They are not producing anything. They are unprofitable and they continue to consume valuable content every year. And we have the courage to dispose of some of these enterprises. They put the properties of fragment are still all over the radio, and I just quickly become Marcos houses all over the place. So we need to, because one of our problems is actually revenue, is a critical issue. I think my colleague in the studio said, okay, but we're earning enough. I don't think we're earning enough. The entire budget of Nigeria for this year is just about the size of our income in South Africa. That is everything. The entire budget, defense to education, they add everything together. It's not up to the education budget of South Africa. So we're not earning enough. So that is what makes it more sad. Unfortunately, I think somewhere along the line we have abandoned the zero budget. What zero-based allows you to do is not to say because I spent 10 naira on something last year, therefore let me put 2 naira on top of it for this year. No, that is not the way to do budgeting. Rather, look at the entire 10 naira you spent last year and ask yourself, must I really spend this 10 naira? If I must spend, how much do I indeed need to spend? And you can see all the time. It is a function of the fact that the country is not generating enough revenue to cover its costs.
All right, thank you, Bolan, for your input. Let's talk to Tunji right now. You have heard Bolan and all that he has stipulated concerning the budget process in Nigeria. Now, as we round off on this particular discourse now, what should the federal government, of course, the legislature, and of course the various arms of government be taken away from all of this discussion, so that at the end of the day, we would have a government that we are proud of, and Nigerians can actually, still go to the market, and even as much as they don't earn as much as they would have desired, they can still get the basic staples.
I think the first thing I would say is that the government should not form the habit of do as I say. Do what I say, but don't do what I do. In other words, you ask people to tighten their bet, but you are not tightening your bet. They must work on that. We must reduce the cost of governance. The most importantly, while we're having this crisis, is insecurity. They need to look for solution to this insecurity. There's nothing we can do without security. This food insecurity will continue because nobody is in the farm now, or majority of them are not able to do what to bring. So when you talk about having our local or whatever, we cannot get it because there are no people at the farm to give us the food because they are not allowed to do that. The insecurity is so enormous that even recently today we are told that a rail or our train was attacked.
Yes, it was.
And so can you imagine? Talk less of people who are at the farm. For you to go to your farm, you must have security. And then the policy of government in terms of agricultural policies only favor those who are close to the government. Most time when they say there is this program for agric or whatever that's been given out, the
real farmers don't get it.
The emergency farmers are the ones that get it. And who are these emergency farmers? Politicians.
Most of them are politicians, yeah.
Once when they realize the way government is going, they set up a particular, a firm or something in that regard so that they will be able to benefit, and they will benefit. So the real farmer, those who are really into farming, don't get to see all this benefit that we're talking about. We just see it on paper, and then other people will be getting it. So until we ensure that, look, agricultural policies or whatever are made in such a way that the real farmers get the benefit of whatever policies.
So the issues are not really the policies themselves; it's the implementation of the policies.
Yeah, implementation and the policy. And again, we have bad policies as well. Because to me, I will still go back to that area when the government closed the border. We don't have enough food in the country, and you are closing border for the few one. That's the beginning of our crisis, and they added more to it. Security added more to it. So we need to also look at our security architecture. We need to look at our policies on agric and other policies. With that, those in government will be ready to sacrifice and then not just say as the team
just
increases,
lip service.
They'll just increase their own. They should also maintain or even reduce and say, look, let's go by what we have and see how we can maintain this.
All right.
That's how to go about it.
All right, thank you so much, Tunji Abdul Hamid, legal practitioner, for your input concerning this particular discuss.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Gbolahan Olojede, an economist who joined us via Zoom. We do appreciate your time. All right, thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, Turkish president alleges that those who are against his administration are still active in Nigeria. To join us again.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. Nimasa bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. By no question. He's a living legend. Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, no.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Welcome back. Now, the president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan, says the terrorists who tried to remove him through a coup in 2016 are still active in Nigeria. Recall that Erdogan had in 2016 accused allies of a renowned cleric Fethullah Gulen, who owned Turkish schools and hospitals across Nigeria, of sponsoring the coup. Now, Turkish envoy in Nigeria, Hakan Gakil, had at that time called on Buhari to close the Turkish schools and hospitals in Nigeria, belonging to a group of private Turkish investors who are inspired by the philosophy of the Hizmet movement. The Nigerian government had, however, rejected the proposal, causing tension between both countries. In what appears to be a reconciliatory move, Erdogan told Buhari that his administration would share intelligence with Nigerian authorities. Now, joining us to discuss this is Michael Nketia, an international relations analyst. Well, many thanks for joining us on Plus Politics and Plus TV Africa. Michael.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start with the development that happened since 2016, and it has actually spiraled now into 2021. It's been 5 years since the attempted coup, and the Turkish president on a two-day visit to Nigeria, mentioned the fact that these alleged terrorists who, tried to overthrow him, are still in Nigeria. What does this really tell about, the dimension that terrorism has taken in Nigeria?
Well, the categorization of people that others may consider as political dissidents in Nigeria as terrorists by the Turkish government is a bit problematic. It needs emphasizing that in 2016, when there was some form of military uprising against the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Islamic cleric who is based in the United States of America was primarily blamed for the uprising in Turkey. So categorizing or terming people who want a change in government, people who want to see a new form of leadership in Turkey, categorizing such an individual or such group of people as terrorists is a bit problematic to me. Second, based on current security challenges in Nigeria, I have my doubts that the government of President Muhammadu Buhari would harbor or provide a safe haven for people who are also perceived to be engaging in other in activities that are likely to destabilize a major country like Turkey. Currently, we are all witnesses to the instability in Nigeria as a result of the agitations by the Yoruba movement.
Michael, if I have to butt in, sorry if I just have to butt in just to understand you better right now. Invariably, what you are saying right now is that what the president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan, is saying does not hold water, in as much as he has said that his own country is battling with the throes of terrorism. And I'm sure that if he is saying that they are still active in Nigeria, they might have some sort of intelligence report, or would you just say it should be outrightly dismissed?
Well, I disagree with the president of Turkey or the Turkish government. I do not believe that those individuals, Turkish nationals who are in Nigeria, are terrorists. I believe that these people are political dissidents, people who want to see a change in government in Turkey. And I don't believe these people are terrorists. And it also needs clarifying that what we are currently witnessing in Nigeria, due to issues of insecurity, the threats posed by Boko Haram, separatist agitations by the Yoruba Nation movement, which was led by Sunday Igboho, and also the Biafra movement, led by Nnamdi Kanu. I don't think the Nigerian government will provide a safe haven for another individual or group of individuals who are trying to also destabilize another country. That would have been a clear contradiction to the policy direction of the Buhari administration. Those people in Nigeria may disagree with the Turkish government. They may be fighting for a change in the opponents of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and basically handing these individuals over to the Turkish government would warrant their indirect death sentence. So I believe that they are not terrorists. The Nigerian government is not providing a safe haven for them. These are just ordinary political dissidents that needs protection.
All right, Michael, still to be clear, so invariably the administration of President Muhammad Buhari, is actually doing the right thing, for not actually closing down the Turkish school, after all the claims and allegations in 2016. Plus, you were saying that those who the president of Turkey has termed, terrorists, primarily, political dissidents. Just to be clear, over time in Nigeria, there has been call to name those who perpetrate lots of violence here in the country as terrorists. For instance, insurgents, bandits, as it were, and of course other criminals, that have terrorized the country in recent times. There have been renewed calls for the presidency, to declare them terrorists. So if I may ask, how do you differentiate who are political dissidents and, of course, terrorists?
A terrorist may be engaging in activities that threaten the sovereignty of a state, either overthrowing the government, engineering or orchestrating armed attacks, financing armed attacks, activities that intends to create an environment and condition of fear and panic. But a political dissident is someone who is only interested in a change in government due to his or her disagreement with they do not finance, engineer, or engage or contract people to engage in armed attacks that threaten the sovereignty and the security of a state. All those things are clearly the activities and modus operandi of terrorists, and political dissidents are only interested in change in the political landscape or status quo of his or her country without any resort to armed violence or confrontation.
All right, still, the president of Turkey, that's Recep Erdogan, actually called for cooperation in the fight against terrorism between both countries so that there could be some sort of success. But in your opinion, looking at all that has happened, do you see a strained relationship, moving forward between Nigeria and Turkey?
Well, in the last decade, since 2011, continuously, Turkey has been a major trading partner of Nigeria. And I believe that it serves the interests of both governments and states to collaborate, jaw in finding lasting solutions to these little bit of misunderstandings or standoff. I believe that there is if you look at the geographical position of Turkey, it falls right between the borders of EU. It serves as a bridge between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Its neighboring countries like Syria and Iraq, even Yemen, all these countries are facing challenges of terrorism, issues of insecurity. Nigeria also has its own security issues. The threat of Boko Haram is still real. The threat of bandits, of armed herdsmen, the threat of agitations by the Biafra movement and even the Yoruba Nation agitations. Both countries face similar threats, and I believe it is in the interest of the Buhari administration and also the Turkish government to jaw, bring amicable solution to this impasse and find ways and means to cooperate militarily to confront the threat of terrorism in both countries. You should note that Turkey currently is a major manufacturer of military accoutrements and weapons, and the Nigerian government can count on the expertise of the Turkish government with regards to the supplies of ammunition, tactical combat deployments, and training to confront the threat of jihadism and terrorism in Nigeria. These are avenues that the Nigerian government can explore. Beyond that, trade presents a wonderful opportunity. Turkey continues to be a major trading partner for majority of African countries, and the Nigerian government can build a solid trade relation with that.
All right, thank you so much, Michael Nketia, International Affairs Analyst. We do appreciate your time and, of course, your thoughts and all of your input on the show today.
You're welcome.
Moving on, right now we'll take a clip showing Nigerians reacting to the over 400 million naira budgeted for the presidency and vice president in 2022, and afterwards I'll be giving you my take.
I can say the money is much compared to Nigerian condition now, because an average man, how can you compare that such amount of money with the feeding of average man in Nigeria? That amount of money can feed over 2 million people in this country. So it is allocated to the presidency alone. So the money is arbitrary. The money is even too much. It's too much for the presidency to feed himself and the vice presidency president. Without such amount, is too much.
Once of I cannot feed themselves by in another 15 naira, 15 naira as of this morning. So it doesn't make sense.
I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you break down to how much they eat on a daily, and you know that they are just being annoying. I'm sure Nigerians are tired of hearing of these things on a daily. So, but the truth is, what can we do? We just vote them out, that's what they say, but does our vote really count?
All right, the voice of the people there. And here is my take. In 2020, the National Bureau of Statistics reported that about 83 million people lived below the poverty line in Nigeria. And we know that that number has probably gone up, saying that the pandemic caused many to lose their sources of livelihoods. Now the country and the rest of the world is going through a recession and economic challenges. A lot of Nigerians are forced to live lives that are below the normal standard of living. Now, every time the president shows up to give a speech or an address to the citizens, he urges them to persevere, promising that Nigerians would be better if they endured the hard times a little longer. But if Nigerians are forced to bear the perilous time, why not the president in his vice? Now, in 2016, 103 million was for the president's feeding, while that of the vice president's feeding gapped 24 million. Still a bit high, but fair. Our economy was relatively better, but from 127 million to over 450 million now in just about 5 years. That's over 100% increase. Nigerians are already tolerating the harsh economy. But this amount is insensitive to the needs of Nigerians. Many political pundits call for a decrease in the cost of governance. Can the president not hear us? Can our leaders not hear us? It is time to listen to us. Be the leaders we voted for in 2019, they should listen to us. It's high time these monies are channeled back to solve hunger in the land. And the meeting between the Turkish president and Nigerian officials is one of the best things that happened lately. It shows that the president has been warned, and to be forewarned is to be forearmed. The federal government seems to be sympathetic to terrorists. It should sit tight and stop paying lip service to issues of security. Let President Buhari, as a matter of urgency, seek foreign assistance, or Nigerians may just be captured by terrorists. And that's my take. Many thanks for being a part of the show. Plus Politics returns same time tomorrow. I am Justin Akadonye. Bye for now.
My name is Adegbenga Badijo. I am a chartered accountant. I choose to be part of the movement to change the narrative from the good old days to looking forward to a better tomorrow. I'm an Ijebu man from Ijebu-Igbo in Ogun State, born and bred in Ilesha, formerly in Western State, later Oyo State, but now Osun State. Though from a middle-class parentage and a humble background, I was born at the prestigious Wesley Guild Hospital Ilesha, with one of the best medical facilities in Nigeria and a retinue of well-trained doctors, nurses, and medical personnel to boot. So I knew this song as a toddler. Ìgbìmọ̀ mi rèjò fi ojú mi rò mí o. Ìgbìmọ̀ mi padà bọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ mi mọ́ dayọ̀. Ọba rere mọ́jọ̀rọ̀ ẹkún bá mi. I grew up wanting to be a medical doctor. We lived at Kappa in Ilesha, the staff quarters of the Government Teacher Training College Ilesha, where my late dad was a teacher and a tent-making Methodist minister. Incidentally, I visited the compound a year ago, got to the house where we lived, and was taken